That's right. I was talking to her, you were talking, he doesn't count, so.
Where should I be on the?
Do we need to do?
She is the supplemental agreement for the wastewater treatment plant.
We're Cam, so.
H. Thank you.
Camville.
If you want to not only move up the discussion on TRE and the multi,
Yeah, I
if you
mean,
want to move her
it's
up
a work
too.
session, is it, do we need that?
You don't need, no.
Well, why don't we go ahead and start and then with Steve and Olivia with that?
It's
and
totally
then-
up to you.
Yeah, is that okay?
Got lead it.
Yep. So,
Me too. Yeah, me too.
this is where I have to put my gavel down. All right, so we'll go ahead and start with the resolution establishing supplemental industrial treatment agreement,
Olivia, can you hear us?
H,
H.
I can. Can you hear me?
be quiet. Can't hear her.
Hang on, we're gonna
Oh,
have to
you're-
adjust the volume on our end.
Okay.
Marcy, there's something right, oh, that's not, okay, I thought that was the problem.
On the actual laptop. That is not part of the disaster recovery, okay?
It's not a disaster.
We can, you're all here. It's a work session, so. let's-
Do you have her say
I don't know
something?
what the rules are.
Olivia, can you say
Any better
something?
now?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
better.
Much
Yep, can
better,
you-
thank you.
Good. Yep.
Okay, well, you're on.
Okay, very good. Well, you should have in your packets this.
Yeah, the actual supplemental pre-treatment agreement is there.
Yep. And real establish fines for when they violate their agreement. So you already have an agreement with them. They understand what their limits are. They occasionally struggle to meet those limits. And right now you don't have a fine in your ordinance or in your agreement. So really you're only restricted to the point where you no longer serve you as one of our users, which I don't think anyone would like to do. So we'd like to enter into this supplemental agreement with them and establish fines for if they're not meeting their limits. And it's supplemental because it really, you could do this per industry if one is becoming a problem user. Any questions on what's in the agreement?
And CAMSO, Olivia, it's Russ, CAMSO is aware that they are exceeding their limits at this time and have not done anything to our knowledge to try and cap that. Is that correct?
Yes, they do know when they exceed their limits. They have to send in the sample to the city, so they are aware of the frequency. I'm not sure how much they're doing to try and eliminate the exceedances. But this is the kind of supposed to encourage that more. There's always house to stay within their limits.
Which
Can you repeat that, Olivia?
cut out.
I think what she was saying was there's only so much that you guys can do to make them stay with you. They have to have some sort of impetus, and that's what this would be. So they're aware of how frequently they violate. But this is giving you some teeth to make sure that they're doing something to stop violating. Is that right, Libby?
Yes,
Oh.
I just, Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're kind of
Sometimes.
cutting in and out though, but we hear about 80%,
Okay,
85%.
Okay.
I do have a question, Mr.
Your-
Mayor.
your summary was good.
Under section 2, service sewer rates, letter B, it says that there can be multiple violations in a single discharge. Is that because we're testing for a variety of things? So if it had three violations, it'd be 250, 500, and 500 all on the first fine.
Does it say each occurrence in
It
there?
says each violation, and there could be multiple violations in a single discharge. So I'm just trying to understand if they had 3 violations, that'd be $12.50.
Did you hear that, Libby?
My question.
I did. Can you, and that's correct. And that's because DNR would ping the city the same way. If
Okay.
you had a discharge that violated 3 parameters, you could get 3 NOVs.
Has the city been dinged? I don't remember. Did we talk about this? No, we have not. Have not. Okay, thanks, Steve.
No. I guess my only other question, Mr. Mayor, is there a reason that we don't do like a supplemental agreement that kind of covers all industry? Because we're sectioning out one. Is that because we need their specific signature on it that they really understand? Or I'm assuming there's other industries that are discharging into our.
I don't think
Wastewater.
it's common to do that. I think it's common just to allow them to discharge into our wastewater treatment plant. And then if it becomes an issue like it has with
Okay.
Camzo, then that's where you hit them. I don't know, Steve, is
I
that
would agree with
familiar?
that. That's
Okay.
why there's very specific, they're habitual offenders, so that's why it's
Okay.
specific to them.
We haven't seen this with any other,
Yeah, I guess that's my question.
with the number of
Make
industrial
sure we're
partners we
going
have.
the same.
Not to my knowledge, Dean.
No, we have not.
Well, this will give us a start with,
Yeah, we'd have a
and then
template agreement.
we'd be able
for
to
others
just,
if-
yeah, bring this forward if we had another industry that we needed to do that for.
What happens if they don't sign it? So we already have an agreement with them, correct?
Yeah, because this is.
That we will take their stuff.
I don't think there's an agreement. I think there's just I hate to use the word assumption, but you are discharging into the wastewater treatment plant. So therefore, we are testing, you should be testing, you should be aware of the levels that you are transferring to the wastewater treatment plant. I mean, we can certainly go around and give a supplemental agreement to each one of the users, but I don't know what your thoughts are, Dean.
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe just a notice would be fine, but I don't know. Yeah, so I guess that being said, a supplemental, but there hasn't been another user that's not been in compliance. If the limits have been, touching, that high end a little bit or whatever it may be, they were, talked to or whatever, but it's always been addressed. So in Cam's Hall, on the other hand, I mean, excuse my language, but
Their response, I said, sorry to interrupt, but
well, they continue to say that they're doing what they need to do to try to meet limits, but, just can't get there, that they're basically saying that, they've tried everything and they can't get there, they need help to comply to those limits.
What type of help do they need?
Pardon?
What type of help do they
Is
need?
that like
Well, I think it's just a
DNR
matter of,
something, or-
it wouldn't be no different than us reaching out to an engineer. And that's what I feel like they need to do.
That's an internal control for them.
Correct. It's out there, but I think they're trying to solve.
This could incentivize them to seek expert help.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in response to your question, Justin, about what if they don't agree to sign the agreement? I mean, I think then at that point, reach out to corporate and go to the head office and make them understand what's happening. And, that does not make them a good partner for the city of Piasta.
Right. I mean, they basically have to comply.
Yeah.
They have to stay within limits
Can we
because
tell them?
otherwise the DNR comes back.
They're
to the city.
listed on the IDNR agreement. They must be registered. We're
Absolutely.
registered, and I assume other businesses are registered in
Correct.
addition to them.
Correct.
If they don't sign this, can we tell them they can't discharge?
I thought I saw that somewhere.
It's in
I
the
don't know how
ordinance.
you technically go about that, Steve, to
Yeah.
enforce it, I should say. I mean, about the only way you can enforce it is to dig up the service
It
line.
is, and I've done that once in my career. It was a high street place where we discounted. And it was a meat processing operation. They ceased to be able to do business. They very quickly complied.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
maybe it's a matter of sending the supplemental agreement to corporate.
Well, I mean, I have no problem starting with.
Yeah. Start
With,
Well,
with the management team here in Piasta. I mean, they may just be like, yeah, we're working on it and yeah, we'll sign this. Or they may take it and go, well, we need our lawyers to look at it. Well, they'll send it to corporate and we may get an answer from there. But, I think that the right approach is, to try and be like friendly neighbors. Hey, man, we're having a little
really need you
issue.
to get this.
Yeah, I believe starting here in Piasta and,
Yeah.
give them, a certain time frame that
Yeah.
we need
definitely.
compliance within this amount of time, considering the fact that they've been, you know,
They've been
outside
notified,
those.
it's not, yeah, they don't, it's not that they, oh, we didn't know.
Roughly, how long have we been dealing with the periodic non-compliances?
Probably been over a year.
Time.
Well
Here.
over a year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And the testing is how frequent?
It was actually before I think Michelin actually bought it.
Okay, so that's been a while.
I don't know what Matt's testing schedule is. Is it weekly?
Yeah, we test weekly.
Okay.
Has something changed there? That's what's
Like
always
their processes or something?
They've always been over, right?
Yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, they're still doing the same production that they've done in the past. Maybe they did change some production. I don't.
It's been about over a year.
During the whole time that Michelin had been in place, they have been, and I want to say even when Coucil was the owner of the business, that even then they were out of compliance and warned. So don't quote me on that for sure, but I you know, recall multiple conversations of, you know, them being out of compliance, and I believe it was way back when Coucil was still. But I don't know technically when the actual change took place between the two companies of the buyout.
Last question, has the city actually been fined? Have we been fined because of over?
We have not
been discovered, not yet, okay.
But the DNR is not very forgiving.
No, I get
Right.
it. Just trying to.
All right, well, this is gonna be on
Tuesday.
Tuesday's meeting. I think everyone's in agreement that we proceed.
Yep.
All right.
Is it normal protocol to give them a copy of the agreement ahead of time, say we're considering this, we're gonna act on it? Or is it something that we act on and we send?
We act and then we send it to them.
Okay.
And I hope he's shaking his head yes
Yeah,
too.
you both
Yeah,
were,
I just-
I don't know why you guys think alike, but
Shouldn't
you
be
do.
surprised though.
Are you scared?
They
I know
won't.
I'm-
All right, John does have some stuff he needs to get to, so I would like to kind of jump around a little bit more.
Are we done with Libby?
We are done with Libby. Thank you, Libby.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
So I'd like to go to discussion on the utility rates outside the city limits. So, yep. Jeff,
He's gonna be calling it.
Afternoon, good evening.
good day. You know, we've had this on our plate for a while here. We've asked Annette to get us more information to work with. She's done a fantastic job of getting, you know, past costs, potential future costs, you know, where things are today. I guess the reason I wanted it back on was because I feel like we need to come to an agreement, stop, you know, kicking this around one way or another. I'll open up the discussion by saying, I believe we've been in a shortfall for a very long time on this. Not because of anyone here, not because of anyone I've heard from the ridge, but we're gonna continue to have issues. We're gonna have, if something were to break on those lines, or as other entities want to hook onto our water outside of the city, I think we need to be proactive and be ready to take them on, and by doing so, make sure that the costs are covered from a city standpoint when the city itself is not bringing in any other income from those sources. So that's my thought. I think where we're at is at 150%. I believe is too low. Honestly, I'll tell you honestly, I believe that's probably about half of what it should be. Right now, I'd be looking at, you know, taking it to 200% in the very near future, or that is my opinion. So I'm going to open it now to the council to throw out their opinions and see where we're at.
So one question I have is, how long have we been collecting this?
8 years?
No, longer than that. The estimate that we had back in April was 200,000, so it's about 10,000 a year.
Okay.
2015?
2014, 20,
So
Ish.
maybe
Yes.
nine-ish, 10-ish.
So how many homes or how many lines of service were then versus now? Now it's like 154.
I don't know what it was back then.
So that's my question is the growth now over there to where we're gonna be collecting more now? than what we were, so that's gonna pick up quicker.
Like,
I couldn't give you a number because all I have is revenue dollars. I don't have meter numbers, or I don't have anything to go on what we had initially.
Is there anywhere we can find that out? No,
I mean, I can. I'm
because you know
sure
what I'm
that
saying,
there's-
is if there was, I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm sure
there's
that there's,
15
we
homes
can go back
over
in billing
9 years
registers.
ago, and now all of a sudden there's 154, well,
Yeah.
that's
We
gonna
should be
pick
able to
up.
go back in billing registers, but not further than maybe 7 years.
I think that'll give us
For
an
sure,
idea, right?
you know,
That'll give us
we can
a
pull.
trajectory.
And there may be a way to pull a report like in Simple City too. I don't know, but we could look into it.
but I think another question to ask would be at the 200% rate,
Does
how
that fix
fast,
us?
how long does it, I don't think it does. How long does it take us to recoup 1.7 million over investment?
We were at 84 years at the current
And-
rate. Is that what the number I remember?
So I mean, it's like, even though it might be a faster rate of collection, it's like, it doesn't
We're
get
still,
us there.
we're still only getting paid back in about 50
Right.
some years.
But it builds up the reserve account so that in the event, because realistically, if something were to happen, then we're going to have to go into debt and issue more debt.
So
That's where
what
I'm
about
at.
the idea that I had last time is whatever, keeping the rate the same? And then if something was to happen, we assess the homeowners association.
Do we have that ability?
We can assess, yes,
And then we
Since
end
they're
up
not in
in
the
court
city, I
trying
know
to
if we
collect
could.
because the
Correct.
numbers are
Yeah.
huge.
but we still have to go out, obtain the debt, and then that goes against our ratio. So that really locks us up if we need to go out and want to bond on any future projects.
But that's not gonna change if we go to 200 or 300, because we're not gonna collect that money back.
No, but we're not, I mean, what I would say, yeah, you got.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. Well, what I would take that, John, and I would look at it and I'd say, well, then we should be changing this to 500%. And I'm not saying.
That's my
what we're gonna
point.
do.
Trying to get a 10-year payback.
I guess that's my point is, at what point is too much, or what point is the right number? Because 200 isn't right,
200 isn't right.
300 isn't right.
No,
I mean,
we're trying
The
to,
right number would be
yeah, I think, you
in
know,
between 3 and 5.
but my point is, why not, if we could assess them at the time of it is, then maybe we'd have them give us some sort of I don't know what the right term is, a promissory note or something.
I don't know how that would be handled.
And that, could we assess the
Someone
homeowner
smarter than me would-
association?
Right.
Or do we have to assess individual property owners?
I'm not an attorney, I can't answer
I didn't know.
that.
if you did.
Yeah.
We still
You know?
can't collect it, right?
You know.
We still can't collect it.
Well, I'm just like, if we have 150 legal discussions to have, that's harder to do
Yeah.
than one with the association.
But the problem with going through the association, number one, I mean, they could fight it in court as well. And in the meantime, you have households
have
that
to do
are
We've got all of our
walking away
money
from
tied
not
up.
paying water bills, and then we're placing liens on their property, and then that puts more of a legal burden on
I'm
us.
assuming we could come together in a legal agreement.
Steve.
as the homeowner.
Engineer, help us out.
I think you ought to consult with your attorney, whether you can assess them or not, because the remedy, if an assessment's not paid, is put it on the taxes. And you're not
They
a
don't pay
taxing
that.
body,
They don't pay their
so I'm not sure that you can assess them.
Oh, true.
Interesting. That changes the way I think.
I mean, I can check with Doug on that.
Annette, I just want to clarify a couple things in the proposal. You're suggesting we go from 150, we go up 25%. It says July 1, so is the thinking in arrears?
Yes,
This was,
that was the proposal
we
back
had
then.
started, when we started
We're not gonna
discussing
go
this
to
months
We
ago.
started in May,
Okay.
Yeah.
But we could start whenever, right?
yes.
And then there was something in here somewhere that I read. It said something about we would use the additional revenues for the water tower project and other stuff versus reserving for this purpose. I just want to understand
Sure,
our options. If we're collecting more, I'd kind of like to see a reserve being built up against
yeah,
I
we can
agree.
do that.
investments that's been made for that neighborhood.
But there'll also be a percentage of that going into,
There would be.
right, to pay down the debt.
It'll just be broke up. It won't be 100% going
Right,
this
because
way.
sometimes like 10, they benefit from 10% or they
Yeah.
benefit from 100%. I just want to clarify that because I want to make sure we're accruing and accounting into a fund related to that incremental.
Yeah, and we had discussed that before, that, you know, Marcy can set that up, and, you know, we'll figure out a way through Simple City to the accounting.
Complex city. What
Simple City.
do you say, Jeff?
I think that'd be the most important part, is building up a reserve.
And to start to know where we really are
Yeah.
in terms of accruing into that.
We did talk to Heidi, Marcy did, Heidi Coucil, she's our financial advisor.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you've had any response back from her.
Back to me yet.
Okay, so we wanted her to run some numbers to see maybe what that sweet spot is. And hopefully, like I said, we haven't heard back from her yet. But knowing that we want to build that reserve, knowing that we have future projects that do, they do supply them 100%, it benefits them 100%. We kind of wanted to see what that percentage would look like, and perhaps her recommendation on what that reserve account should look like, what we're sweeping over into it.
Yes. I know Jeff's here. I was just gonna ask, have we heard anything official from the homeowner association related to the relook at the 28E or the annexation agreement?
No.
That was, so the document that's posted here was the one we proposed that was never executed,
Right,
right?
right.
Okay.
Okay for me to ask
Yeah,
a
Jeff,
question.
go ahead. Yep.
Well, I think before you get into real discussion about raising our rates, I guess, we have asked some questions
Point of order, it's rates outside of the city.
outside of the city.
Yeah.
Because you did raise rates already, haven't you, for everybody, correct? Didn't you raise?
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yes, yeah, okay. So outside the city, we have, and I do appreciate you getting this information that I got about the amount of money that's spent in regards to our water system over there. However, we find a lot of questions that we've had, and we've tried to set a meeting up to kind of go through these. We also have asked about, before we present to you a 28 agreement, we want to still sit down and talk about how you came to these particular figures and how they're being allocated. Two, nobody still told us about the condition of the well that was out there, why it's still not being used, and can it ever be used? Two, the rationale for the city to even take on the well and bring us into your system with no thoughts of going up where this would end up of us having to pay 2 or 3 times what the city residents do. So I think we've paid more than what's being on there. So I guess we still want to sit down. And when I had contacted Annette and the mayor through emails about contacting our attorney, was kind of directed, well, have your attorney contact our attorney contact yours. The reason we contacted our attorney was to say, how can we present to you an updated 28 agreement of water, anything else? We still don't have information to go ahead and go forward. It would seem that we'd be doing poor business on our side for that. So we're not opposed to presenting a 28E agreement if we have the information in front of us of where this may possibly go. And we still don't feel we're responsible for the deal that was made 9 years ago on the water issue. And we certainly don't want to have to look at other options or other things down the road. We want to stay here, but we need information before we can present anything to you of where we want to go with this.
So we need to address the condition of the well.
Yeah, let's answer the
So Steve,
questions we
I'm gonna
can, because I know
Put
we
you
can't.
on the spotlight.
I'll let Dean go
And-
first on that. He got a little bit of history of a little bit more history than I do on that.
Yeah, I mean, for starters, the system over there and our system can't be incorporated through DNR permitting at this time. But outside of that, that well over there will not provide enough volume it will barely provide enough volume to serve the residents in your neighborhood at this point in time. And that's aside of even fire. Oh,
We understood that beforehand, but we didn't, you took the well still. You accepted the well with us thinking that we were, well, not us thinking, it was AJ thinking we're gonna continue at 150%. So you're telling me that well is completely worthless to the city?
it serves no benefit to the city. It serves benefit to the development area of Thunder Ridge. Because if we had a break or something in the area between our city limits and Thunder Ridge that we had to isolate, we could back up on that well and still serve you guys water over there.
some water, but not enough to meet their
Not
current
enough to
needs.
provide,
But in an
not enough to provide for fire protection.
So it's not
But
really
enough to
providing them
provide
water
for-
today though, right? All the water
No,
that's
it's
going
not.
there is city water.
Correct.
Correct.
So it's a well with some water in it that's not really being tapped or
It's in
used.
standby mode for emergency
Okay.
purposes. We are able to use what little it does produce in our calculation to be compliant with the DNR, but it's not very much. I don't remember. I should have refreshed myself, but less than 50 gallons a minute, I think, out of that. Pretty
Sounds
small.
to be correct.
Yeah.
And why fire protection is important and being able to hook up there, that was always reflected in what insurance rates we paid out there. I mean,
Absolutely.
You know, so we understood that. I'm not sure that's gonna balance off the change in insurance rates if we weren't on that, but that water's kind of over the dam there. So, you've told us before that you were looking to maybe potentially drill for another well.
No, I can't speak
No,
for what.
That was the water
previous-
study that was done way back in 2013.
Right.
And it was indicated that there was an area is where they wanted to place that well. Well, that's not a viable area. So now we are putting a well over across Highway 20 south of Bard Concrete. There never was any plan in that water study to put a new well inside of Thunder Ridge Estates.
That water study said it wasn't viable.
Right,
That's what the study answered.
right. And as far as the water tower goes, Dean, it was my understanding that it was a used tower that was brought in and it's not operable at this point.
No, it's not. And I don't, to my knowledge, I don't even believe the tower is high enough to provide the pressure. I'm not sure what the heights are. I don't know, Steve, if you guys ever measured it or know what it would be, but
We did, just knowing that
it's
it was
basically a monument.
a consideration.
And we've always known that.
Right.
We've never known that why you didn't, number one, why you took the well and then why not use the well. That's never been brought to our attention. It was always kind of put forward that, again, that was kind of a trade-off. You took the well and we had water service and are paying extra for that. But we still want to sit down and go through the figures because the putting the pump station out there not only benefited us, it certainly has benefited your other areas that are within the city of Piasta.
Sure.
So we still want to sit down and have that type of discussion. We do have a meeting. Our annual meeting is on the 19th. We're going to propose some things to our group there about looking at revisiting interest in the 28E agreement. We're still trying to understand, and every time, whether it's talking to our attorney or the city officials, we continue to get different answers on what annexation may or may not look like, what exactly would have to happen to have a voluntary, involuntary. I know it was stated there'd never be an involuntary, but I don't think we can ever say never. So I think we just need more information too, that we're trying to get from our attorney, and we now do have different legal counsel.
Who is that?
That's Brian Kane, and it's my understanding from meeting with him that he was to be contacting your city attorney and see exactly if that has occurred or not. I don't know. We just sent him an email today to see where that was at, so we know where we are. So we can see the figures there, but we still feel that those aren't all according to us. And again, it just seems to me, without doing more of a study of just saying there's a cost out there of what actually would pay in there, a more broader study of really the ramification of the increase of weight of the rates, that still should be done before.
And I think the other thing, Jeff, that you've heard from the council tonight is we don't feel like whatever we're going to do is going to pay for the system we install.
We were wrong.
That money is gone. That ship has sailed. There was a person who pushed that through on your side and on the city side. And I believe errors were made and bad decisions were made on both sides. We covered that when we did have that meeting. What we're looking at is more the future. We're just making a basis. This is what the city has invested. We're not trying, yeah, we've got numbers that say it would take 84 years to recoup that money. Obviously, none of us are going to be around to see that. No offense, But I think what we're looking at doing is, and I don't think the 50% over what the citizens are paying is going to establish a good enough fund that we're talking about establishing, as well as getting a portion from Thunder Ridge towards the water tower and that new part of the system that should be allocated. So the extra, if we go to 200%, it's still not gonna be enough, but it's gonna put a dent in it when we have something happen. And the system out there is already, what did we decide, 9 years old. I don't know what the time frame to expect something, but probably within the next 10 or 15 years. So the city needs to be ready for when something happens, and it's gonna cost $250,000, $500,000, $1.2 million to have some reserves ready for that. So I think I would like to move away from this is a payback to this is a future. So that's really, when we started this whole discussion, it was based on, hey, we're not getting enough money to pay for what we're doing. I still believe that, but we're also looking to the future, and this is to build reserves. And at 150%, we're not building any reserves.
And while I'm not as well versed in that as you are, I think I would still argue the point is that the cost that you have is not all our cost out there.
Understood.
Your city has more than benefited by expanding out into that area there. And again, that's why we want to sit down, tell us exactly where these figures are coming from, who else is involved in that. I just don't think, I think we're being overly charged, and I don't have the information you have in front of you.
Yeah, and I'm not, and again, I'm trying to move away from you owe us for what we did. I'm moving towards, we need to have this fund established. And I don't remember what the number is that we're getting per year out of the 50% over. Does anyone have that off the top of their head?
200
I think it's around 10,000.
$10,000 a year
of excess.
Over what the citizens of Piast are paying. Now,
Our figures would argue that significantly, but we need
Yeah,
to sit, that's why I don't want to do that.
and the only thing is, Jeff, and we're gonna kind of get this discussion down. But when we sat down with you, I think you guys came at us with about 4 different ways that you figured numbers, and they were all confusing. Well, it was,
It was.
I've got 300%, I got 105%, I got 20%, it just kind of went, and so again, I want to move to the future. This is to build a fund that is separate from the rest of the city, so that if something happens in your area that we have to fix, I don't have to go, this council doesn't have to go, the next council doesn't have to say to the citizens of Piasta who are paying taxes, you guys have to fix their water. Take a bond out.
Then I go back and say, can we, if something would go wrong in there, and if we weren't part of your city there, if something would go wrong, would the cost then something that we might want to talk about, assuming for Thunder Ridge, our association?
Being assessed?
Possibly, yeah.
Do you have?
Again, I don't think we can do
Yeah,
that.
we just had that discussion, so I don't think
That's the discussion we have to talk to our attorney.
yeah, so we're gonna check on that, whether we even have that available to us. No offense here, but you can say, yeah, we'll pay you.
Sure.
And then 15 years from now, you're no longer on the board and there's something happened and,
Got a.
There would have to be some sort of legal document.
Right, I understand.
Well, this is very similar to what happened in 2014. All of a sudden now we're kind of looking at a higher rate when we thought we were locked in for, and for the last 10 years, we've tried to get a 28 agreement signed and could never get one done.
Hasn't been actively being worked on.
So
Anyway, I'm gonna, and unless anyone on council has anything else to add, I'm gonna call the discussion on this right now.
So what are our action items moving forward?
Well, the action item right now is I'm going to have on the agenda for Tuesday to set a public hearing for the 24th, pending information that we get from our attorney and the information you asked to get from.
Are we there yet?
I am.
I don't feel like we have enough information.
Okay.
I mean, we got our partner here that.
Go ahead.
I have a note from our attorney.
Okay.
I asked him if we could assess a non-taxing body, and he said no.
So we'd have to assess each property owner.
No.
No,
we
you
can't
can't,
assess
you can't
any
assess
You
any
can't
of
do it
them
at all.
because
Okay, well, that
they pay
answers that
taxes
question.
to us. So that's one answer that we have.
I want this on the agenda. I mean. we
Okay,
could-
so, but we've got a partner here with us that wants to partner with us and they've got,
Okay.
and they want to sit down and meet with us. We're just gonna keep on going forward.
Well, their meeting's
Well, I
on
mean, I
the
think-
19th, right?
Yeah, their meeting's the 19th. That's gonna give them time to get together,
Well,
get their.
before that meeting, I'd still like to sit down with a couple, you and Ned and a couple council members and make sure we're on the same page of the figures that you're throwing at us.
That would take me about 3 weeks to get all that information
Right.
out. I
That's what I'm
went
saying.
back through what we had paid, the debt that we had issued. I did not pull all. So it would take me nearly 3 weeks.
And Jeff, what I understand from these allocations is our professional staff, professional maintenance staff came up with the percentages. If we're wrong on the ones that are 10% to TRE, if we're wrong by half, it's still 40 years. We're like we're orders of magnitude apart. And I think the ones that are 100% are probably identifiable infrastructure associated with just your area that we wouldn't have done if, I mean, it's not benefiting any other area.
So but you're telling me you won't take the time to sit down and go over those.
But Jeff, just the point of order on that as well is when you requested a meeting, you wanted us to meet with you and your attorney.
No, that's incorrect. I never
No,
asked to meet with you.
That is correct.
No, it's not. I've got the email here.
Okay.
I never asked to meet with you. We asked to meet with you and
I want to keep moving forward on this. If we find something that we need to pull it, we'll pull it. But for right now, I want that we need a deadline on this. We've been kicking this for 3 years since I've been
We
here.
really have been
Can
kicking
we
it. We haven't had
set-
much conversation with them. It's been a conversation today, a conversation 8 months from now, a confirmation. I mean, when was the last time we had a conversation with these guys? That was back in June? May, June?
I think it
Couple
was,
months ago.
yeah, it hasn't been that long ago.
That was, and the time before that was what, been 8 months, 9 months?
Could have been.
Okay. So these
Because
guys wanna
that
sit,
was the
these guys wanna,
2080 agreement that was given to them to take back to their
these guys wanna
HOA.
sit down and have a conversation with us
Fine.
and we wanna keep on putting it on?
But the purpose of the conversation is to try to justify or validate the numbers. Is that it, Jeff?
That's what it
Understand
sounds like.
this number, 10%, 100% associated with what was it for and when that's the detail that you want?
that would be the major part of the conversation, yes.
Why don't we set a public hearing for like the last meeting in October? That'd give Annette enough time. We still have a deadline. We give Annette enough time to come up with her numbers. We could still have time to have that meeting with them.
That's
And
fair.
then it's a hard set
That's fair.
public
Okay.
hearing date.
I like that. I think we should go through and have a conversation about our assumptions and try to get everybody at least seeing the data the same way. I don't think it's gonna change my opinion about where we sit financially.
And I don't think that's the issue.
So that'd be the 22nd. October.
I'll go with Lexi's answer there because I don't have a calendar.
my calendar, I'm
Let's see for 500.
I'm busy that day. Just kidding.
Jeff, maybe you have given this to Annette or the mayor or both. Can we get in writing your specific questions before we sit down so we can try to answer the specific questions?
I have given them some, but I'll
Okay.
make sure they're.
I think the question about why did we do this deal, the city or the association, I don't know that that's a useful question and we can really answer it. The predecessor of you running the association and the predecessor of this council running the city entered an agreement with some assumptions at that time. And now we're faced with a reality that has a set of assumptions at this time. And I don't know how we go back and reconstruct why people did what they did.
Well, that's a very good point. And I think if we have the information that when we have our annual meeting on the 19th, we're certainly not opposed to looking at a 28 agreement with wording of annexation in there. But we before I go to our group of 145 people and talk to them about that, of what that may or may not mean, they're certainly gonna have questions for me that I have to try to answer to them about how they came up, how these figures were arrived at, how we came to the particular, why the well is not being used, and I've just tried to get that information. So when I'm standing in front of 100 and some people, and I think we'll have a pretty good sized meeting there next, I want to be able to address them. And I appreciate you moving that to that so we can do that.
So your meeting's on September 19th, you
Yes,
said?
yes, it is.
So you're looking for specific answers by the 19th, pretty much.
If Annette can't get that, I think,
Put a priority on the list.
we can still go forward on our meetings and some things there, but if we can get that, that would be great.
Moving on.
Thank you.
Yep. We are going to then discuss flashing crosswalk signs at Birds and Hot Springs. Julia.
Cost on that, Annette, do you remember?
I think he had, what he had said,
31,000
31,000
for
for two.
turnkey.
31,000. But we wouldn't need them
But
at,
they're,
yeah, there's 4 sets on there, so we would only need 2 sets, would be 15,500.
That's what I'm quoting, is two.
Correct.
and I think their recommendation is the two.
Correct, because we don't need them
Uliana
at
crossing.
Birds and, at Birds and Cox Springs there because there's a stop sign there. There's no reason to even have it there. So we just need them down at Uliana across.
To get across.
We have Jake
Yep.
on the call.
Okay.
Hello,
Jay?
everyone.
Hello.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah, so Deanna reached out and asked if this was in the bid, and it was not. And then I worked on getting a price from the contractor for a turnkey price to install a set of the flashing beacons at the Birds Road cross section just west of Cox Springs, and then the Cox Springs crossing just north of Uliana. As they mentioned, and then I let Annette know that MSA doesn't recommend the installation at the Birds crossing, following federal highway guidance on it. They specifically say not to use them at controlled intersections like that where there's a stop sign or a yield. So we wouldn't recommend the installation at the Birds crossing. The Uliana one, and I did reach out to the contractor if they only do one of the locations. Is it approximately half? And he said yes, but he would have to requote the freight and stuff like that. But approximately half. So 15,500 to install the flashing beacons at the Cox Springs crossing at Uliana. They're solar powered units that do not require any conduit or power.
There was a grant last year, I know with ECIA, like the Get Your
Safe routes to
Safe routes to school, yeah, so that was $5,000, as long as we had 100% matching funds, so we could look at that. Also, I know that like the project in general came in under budget, so.
We don't want it.
We want to know. Can we get dilly bars?
I think it's a no-brainer. I'm in complete support of the Uliana one, regardless of grant funding.
I agree.
We have room in the project. It's the right thing to do.
I did reach out to Dan Fox at ECIA to see when the next cycle is for safe routes to school, so we can be prepared for the next. Because I think we passed it. I think it's January or February.
This one
When they look
wouldn't
at that.
qualify then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Jake, if we were to move forward this say on Tuesday, how quickly can we get it done?
Let me double check. I don't think he had a date. Let me open up
Before the
that.
ice flies, before the snow flies.
Is that something we can get before the snow flies, you think?
Let me open up his quote and see if he had an estimated delivery date.
Not for this. We wouldn't be able to get a grant for this.
That's the grant. Yeah.
But yeah,
He doesn't have a projected date.
We have the funds, though.
we're not waiting for
15.5 is what we have.
Came in under budget with
15.5, right at 15.
Just amazing.
Weird.
What do we need? That's how much we came under.
Yeah, I don't see anything on there. I can reach out to him.
Just let Annette know if you would.
Yep.
And you can answer.
Installed, get ready for the equipment when it got there.
Paris School at 7397 Uliana. Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Kara.
Those highway recommendation guidelines make sense. My only question is, I have already crossed that intersection multiple times, the Birds and Cox Springs. When cars are going north-south on Cox Springs, they don't technically have a yield sign or a stop sign, so they're still actively turning, whereas the other direction has the stop sign. Does that matter at all for any of those recommendations, since those cars going north and south don't technically have a yield sign up or a stop sign?
The federal highway guidance says they're not to be used at controlled intersections. So the way it's controlled is not relevant. I mean, you could still install them. I just wanted to note that federal highway does not recommend it. So
I think that's
Hey, Dean,
They won't necessarily see the flashing beacons anyway, and quite honestly, I feel that it'd be safer for the vehicle to be focused on the pedestrian that's actually that's crossing that intersection versus a flashing light.
How much would it cost us to put 2 stop signs there, and turn it into a 3-way stop?
Because then it is controlled.
So that was a thought that kind of crossed my mind down there on Uliana even. Do we try something like the LED framed pedestrian ahead walk, and then the actual pedestrian walk? And if that doesn't cure or resolve the problem, do we actually install a stop sign there? I mean, I've crested that hill at 25%. There's clear view there. Jake and I had conversations, and my concerns with the crosswalk, and this is fine if this is the direction where we're gonna go, but we have crosswalks on Piasta Street as well, and we also have semi-traffic. We have crosswalks up at the south end of the roundabout, and we don't have the flashing beacons. And if this is the direction we're gonna go, is this something that we're gonna include in all bids going forward? I think we should just clarify that. But my concerns, and Jake and I were talking on this too, is, is this something that pedestrians just take for granted, that once they hit the crosswalk that, it's a free for all?
Yeah.
And it's not their responsibility if the vehicle comes and doesn't acknowledge the stoplights? So, I mean.
Do we just want to go to the 3-way stop?
Yeah, what does it cost us to do a
And why-
3-way stop?
Let's discuss why we wouldn't. How about that?
What are the drawbacks for just making
I mean,
it a
the
completely
obviously
controlled stop?
I mean, another option would be to take and we've had this discussion a couple months ago too, when we decided to go with that project, would be to take the 20-mile-an-hour school zone sign and move it south.
Thought we were doing that already. I thought we had discussed that and everybody was in agreement to move that to the top of the hill.
We're having that conversation.
No.
Could it
We
have
were
been in
moving
your
that to where
Parks
that
Committee
25
meeting?
mile an hour sign is.
It was in discussion that would be an option. I mean, that's something that I had mentioned in the past.
I thought we were doing that.
Mike, do you think there's too much traffic north-south on Cox Springs that the stop signs would create a traffic problem?
So, I mean, there's traffic on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very traveled road. Again, I think motorists, I don't necessarily know if we need to put stop signs in yet at this point. If there becomes a issue, and I'm not the one to say, wait for an issue to happen, but, I don't know how much that sidewalk's gonna be traveled, and
The multi-use trail?
for multi-use trail.
Thank you.
I get that, but, to put beacons there, I don't think it's necessary to put beacons.
Well, it's,
We were
they're
talking
not
about
gonna be
stop
east
signs,
west,
though.
they're not gonna be
No,
north
stop,
south, right,
correct.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
I do think we slowed the traffic down to 20 miles an hour on both north-south,
Mhm.
right? Coming to that intersection. They just aren't stopped.
Correct, because they could be turning, yeah.
Can we,
I mean, I've tried it multiple times, broke the speed limit, did 30, 35, and you cross that hill, and if you're focused on the road, I mean, there's ample time to stop for a pedestrian walk there.
And you're talking about coming north on
That's
Cox
heading,
Springs.
that's driving north.
So you're talking about cresting the hill before Uliana? Are you talking about up it?
Yeah.
I'm
Correct. If
thinking
you're
about the
coming
intersection
from the
of
south
Birds.
heading north, there's ample time to stop even at 30 to 35 mile an hour.
You're thinking about putting a stop sign, hey,
I guess
just for north.
I would feel comfortable with a pedestrian crosswalk ahead and then a pedestrian maybe flashing yielding sign like we have for the 90-degree turn up here on Birds Road, you know, the LED framed solar pedestrian crosswalk,
Not
maybe
full-fledged
create enough
beacon
attention.
like we have.
That makes
out here.
responsibility.
But there's also a stop sign up here though.
Yeah, which intersection
Right,
are we talking
The
about?
birds.
Well, that's just indicating the 90, but I'm just using that sign for an example.
You're talking to
I'm
Uliana.
intrigued by the stop signs at Juliana.
And at the
Birds.
three-way.
I'm intrigued by that.
I like that idea.
How do you, I just don't know about the one at Juliana.
No, I like
Did
it.
you just stop in
At the top
northbound
of the
traffic?
hill.
And they're gonna want one at Maple Ridge.
My gut says no, my gut says both.
Hmm.
I don't know why it says
We
that.
have one there, we want one there.
And then I want one here, and then I want one here.
But we've got 15.5 to work with.
Stop sign, every street, every corner.
I don't know.
Ban cars.
Three.
100% agree, Marcy.
Just ban cars.
I appreciate your feedback, Kara. I mean, this is great.
Here's the question, and Mike, you'll attest to this, is the school speed zone. Does everyone know that that is the speed all the time, not just when school's in?
Yeah, I read it.
We're getting there.
Yep.
I didn't know.
But I'm just saying, just because it's school zone on a Saturday,
It
I
is
read it.
always 20 miles per hour.
I'm just saying
25.
You get it, you know.
that people don't think it's 20.
It's always 20.
It's always 20.
Yeah, I know, because the email.
All three directions.
I'm just saying.
I don't know what's doing.
See, right there.
It's a city ordinance that says it.
24 hours a day, all three directions.
Yep.
Right, but
City ordinance.
98% of the people
It's
in
the
this
city
town
ordinance
don't
that
know that.
changes that though. People don't know the city ordinance.
Correct. Correct.
I like the idea of stop signs, but maybe that's not.
I think I like the idea of the stop signs at Birds.
Me too.
Because you got kids crossing the street and people turning left. Or just
People turning without
Left-hand,
having a
yeah,
controlled
without having a
stop.
controlled
Turning
stop.
either
You still have the beacons down on
And
Juliana?
I think I'd still put the beacons on Juliana.
Yes.
Or maybe don't even go full-fledged beacons, but put in the pedestrian crossing sign.
See, I think we're looking at a Federal Highway Administration recommendation for the flashing beacons. I'm trying to understand why we wouldn't do that. Why we look at this other alternative. I'm trying to understand Dean's other alternative. At Uliana.
I think the Uliana crossing, it's such a busy street and that's right down at the bottom of it.
And everybody's using that as a
down there
cross
for
street
kids
from
crossing.
Thunder Hills. It's a mini.
Yeah, I guess my
Birds.
opinion is to use those beacons down there to.
I like either beacons or stop signs down there. I definitely at the top some stop signs for that three-way, I think, for sure.
Mike, what are your thoughts on the three that stop by, the stop
I mean,
signs by Birds?
I'd like to give it some thought on it. I'm not opposed to it. But the problem with that is, like Marcy brought up, is you do it here, they'll want it here, they'll want it here, they'll want it here. And we've already been crossing that path with Birds at Maple. Some individuals wanted a stop sign at Maple Ridge and Birds right where that school crossing is, right here on Birds Road here. You know?
The difference, and maybe, is it a
That's gonna be
difference?
the issue is.
The difference
you know,
is it says stop with somebody in the crosswalk.
Correct,
We're coming north-south or on Cox Springs and people don't see that
correct.
unless they are
You're,
turning.
you're
and-
talking Cox Springs and
Yeah, I'm
Birds,
talking
correct?
Cox Springs and Birds.
You're not seeing.
They don't see
crossing.
stop for pedestrian crosswalk until they're turning.
Right.
And then it's too late. And I feel differently about Maple because you can see it. It's
Correct.
labeled there and it says
Right,
stop
so
for.
three-way stop there, but then this flasher's down.
That's
Down at the
down
bottom.
below.
Yeah.
Like
But
what we
I'm
have on
addressing the
Maple
issue of
Ridge.
like all these other intersections that then are gonna want a stop sign, which I don't think makes sense. If you've got clear visibility and you're seeing the thing in the middle of the street that says stop for a pedestrian in the crosswalk,
Mhm.
yellow.
And there's already flashers there.
And you're going 20,
Yeah.
so. But I do like the idea of 3 stop signs at Birds, if that doesn't derail our traffic patterns.
It shouldn't, I mean.
And I think you're gonna lose a lot of traffic off of that anyway, when that other road gets open.
Get a drain
When
open,
a drain
When a
opens.
drain opens, I think you're gonna lose a good chunk of traffic off
should
of
be
it.
great,
Did you hear something?
September 10th.
Is what I heard.
June 1st.
Thanksgiving last year.
I heard when hell freezes over.
Ask Karen if she's got other questions or she wants to comment on any of that discussion.
No, my only comments are, I do like the thought, if you could, maybe reconsider that, idea of changing by the Birds, Cox Springs to a three-way. We'll discuss that later. And then I do agree with also the flashing lights for Uliana and Cox Springs. And then I also did like the suggestion of the neon yellow pedestrian crossing sign, just the stationary sign. That was, somebody else was bringing that up, but that is all. Thank you.
Does Noah have any comments?
Yeah, Noah.
Do you have any comments? Comments? Say nope. Say thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Thank you, Carol.
I think Dave and I can talk about this and, we'll kind of come to a recommendation.
And kind of whatever your recommendation, put a picture together.
Sure.
Because it seemed like we got crossed up just talking about it
Yeah.
several times.
We got crosswalked just talking about it.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
So that would be great. And then come up with your best recommendation. Yep. We'll go from there.
And can we go ahead and get it requoted for 2? And so we can act as a council or
Yeah. And I
on the
agree.
Juliana one?
2 versus 4.
Yeah,
Two, get it requote, check price and requote,
Continue to.
just so we can act at
Get
the
that
next
quote for the
meeting.
one set of flashers.
Yeah,
For the one.
one. set.
Yeah.
One set.
For
Is he
Juliana.
still on?
Yep, he's still on. So Jacob can do that. He said he would, they just had to calculate the freight or whatnot, so.
Yep, I'll reach back out to Shig Fry for one set at the Cox Springs crossing near Ileana. And I'll ask him what his ETA was for the stuff.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
John, anything else you'd like to talk about?
Nope, those are the things I want to talk about. Now you just get bonus time.
Oh, woo, yeah.
We're gonna put some committees together that John can be on.
Wait, no, I missed my dinner.
All right, we'll just then jump back to the top here and September 10th agenda is on here.
I just want to say there's a lot that I have inside of this body that is on those meetings. I just conversed with our engineer that we need his engineering report so we can do a resolution so that we can accept Adrena Drive Tuesday. So that's one thing that we need to get done, right, Steve?
Yep. Good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions as far as next week's agenda?
I know it's just kind of rudimentary, but I'd probably like to have a copy of the disaster recovery plan attached to our.
It is now out there.
Okay, perfect. So we can just look at it before the resolution.
Anything on the September 24th agenda at this point?
As usual, the second meetings are really light,
Yeah.
for now.
I will apologize in advance that I haven't gotten you sheets to fill out for our closed session at the 24th, but I will get them to you. Feel free to freeform if you'd like. I will provide each of you a legal pad so you have enough room to write all your comments.
At your own expense.
At my expense, I'll spring for that. All right, then we will go ahead and move on to the department head discussion, as long as they are here. But they're in.
They're in their own
Sorry,
conversation.
There it is. They're in their own closed session.
Yeah, something for us, sorry.
We were
engaged, sorry.
Yeah, no, this is, it's your time.
Discussion. Oh,
Guys, it's your time now.
You're up. Basically, what I don't have anything for you other than what's on here. I'll be probably discussing more stuff, so I don't have anything.
We do have the proposed speed limit change on Thunder Hills Road.
Right, but that's coming up, so that's why, unless you want to jump right to it, but I doubt it. Okay.
Pete?
My next, sure thing. I was just gonna give a little update. I'm sure everybody's curious on how the Kelly Oak Trail is coming along. Conley wasn't out there at all this week. They went through a little extra effort to dry up the subsoils, just for some soil stabilization and try to prevent any excess rock on them on the trail. So, and actually River City have continued to delay the project. But to my knowledge now, I think River City's out probably at least 2 weeks. So I talked to Jude this morning. He said they'll be back in to start rocking next week. So they'll have ample time with all put in place. Other than that, I guess has anybody got any additional questions on that? What's going on out there? We actually today, Stacy and I met out there to start grading up for the playground equipment. So that's one of them.
To create some chaos.
At this time, I mean, we have to move forward with it because otherwise we're going to be pushed into October and November and trying to reschedule.
Wrong door.
Trying to reschedule.
What's
Fields are
the
dangerous.
concern about?
Just having everybody out there at once.
I'm sure we'll be able to work through it. We'll have to, I mean, at this point in time, because like I say, otherwise it's just gonna get too late. We're gonna get put into October and November and try to reschedule the recreational center. It's just-
Yeah,
Might push us out even the next spring.
yeah, that sounds like a good plan to try and do
Fight through it.
Yep. Fire station has contacted me. We actually budgeted money for the approach coming into the old part, excuse me, of the fire station. They asked that we could raise that concrete a little bit and replace that. They're actually going to provide the labor on that, and we're gonna provide the concrete, so that'll cheapen the cost on that. And they asked if we could tear that out next week, so we got a busy couple weeks coming up here. But, you know.
That's their drive into the
That's the approach.
station.
Yeah, so basically removing the one section of panel going into the fire station on the old section of the fire station.
Are they gonna have that done before their auction,
When's the auction?
28?
This was a recommendation came from Rick Block. He's on the fire department, so
Okay, I'm just curious.
They must want to get it done before then.
Yeah,
that's probably the intent then.
all right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Where are they going to put their equipment in the meantime?
He basically said that they would pull it outside, so it didn't seem to be too much of a concern, the 4 trucks that they need out of there. I told them if we had Wednesday and Thursday to get it tore out, and it sounded like they're gonna get it replaced, weather permitting, the following Saturday. So not this Saturday, but
There you go.
whatever the date is, of next Saturday.
14th.
Yes, the 14th. So, yeah, that'll give them a week to get back in there, so fingers crossed for good weather. Yeah, other than that, I mean, Cox Springs, obviously that trail is completed. I see Thurn was out there tonight, doing the final seeding, so restoration should be taken care of. And I have not received anything as far as information on Chick-fil-A wanting payment, unless something got sent to you, Annette. So I'm assuming they're just,
Let's do the next leg to Kelly Oaks.
until the project's complete for the month end of September.
One thing we were talking about, Dean, is a semi had ran over that corner down there.
So I believe that's school buses.
Okay.
And the fact that that's happening, I think, is because of that stand-up sign that's there.
Yeah, they're trying to.
You can't cut the corner any
Gotcha.
sharper.
We fixed it.
That's another thing.
There, like a rock or something on that corner to kind of. Well, not the school buses and work.
I mean, honestly, I believe that we're gonna have to remove the sign because I think that section of walk is gonna be destroyed
They just can't get.
If we don't do that, right?
if we don't remove
Right,
that
I agree
sign.
with that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, my thoughts are we put a temporary up on the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, or we place another sign up there with pedestrian crosswalk, pedestrian ahead. Give that indication. Like I say, it's a 25-mile-an-hour speed zone. I mean, there's gotta be respect taken on both ends, pedestrians and the vehicles. So, I think at this point in time, if we don't remove that,
Remember, replace that.
we're gonna be replacing the sidewalk. And that's got the 88 panels in it, so that's gonna be the most expensive part of so. Yeah, I did notice that yesterday, and I did wanna have discussion on that tonight, so yeah.
They did fix it today. The tracks that were through there.
Yeah. Third did, yeah, they're out there. But I'm sure by tomorrow.
By tomorrow,
yeah. They're gonna be there again. Yeah, unfortunately.
You have no signs. That's right.
Well,
Like I say, I mean, we can throw some temporary pedestrian.
Yeah, but
That sounds good.
I think
let's
you're
do
right.
that. Let's do that.
I'd move that tonight.
That's what my thoughts are.
School's coming
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, worst case scenario, we can throw it on the 25 mile an hour speed zone.
Right on that, yeah, right
They get
before
it,
it.
they get in here,
to the south
they
of
can
it.
put them out.
Do we need to do anything as far as moving the speed limit sign or?
You just need to do it.
Just do
Moving
it.
the speed limit sign.
No, he's gonna move pedestrian awareness to where the 25
Do
speed.
you want to move the?
I know we were gonna discuss moving that speed limit sign up to the top of that.
Like moving it south.
To
south
where
of
the other speed limit
Juliana.
sign's at now,
On the other side, on the south
where
side.
that 25 is at.
I mean, it's an option. That's.
I mean, do we need to do
Entirely up to
anything
you.
officially, Justin, outside of just saying,
That's
let's do
another
that?
piece.
And I figured that's part of our discussion. Dean and I were gonna meet tomorrow and go over there just to see,
What needs to come?
you know, what,
Okay.
do we need to move it?
And that's
You
your
know,
drawing.
we'll
Put
just
that
go there.
on your drawing, yeah.
Oh,
You know.
that seems a little, you're slamming me a little bit there. Actually, a lot of it. I know who I'm having the drawing done for.
Also, Dean and I talked about that rut that's by the trail that we saw last night.
Replaced.
It's the water washed
Yeah,
that
it's from the
out.
water runoff that comes off of there, and I'm sure that 2-inch rain took care of that. My thoughts are, it's not really the contractor's responsibility to go in there. I think the best thing that we can do there, go in there after, now that they got the seeding done, carve out an area, and we'll put some 6 to 9 inch
Put
rock in
rock
there.
in there.
Something that's gonna restrict that flow coming off of there, kind of break that barrier and, you know,
Yep.
hopefully,
Until it gets.
yeah.
Rolling.
We get some
Rolls.
establishment of grass there. I think that's our only option at this.
Okay.
There's such a force of water that comes off there, especially on the 2-inch rain, that, you know, it's gonna be unpreventable.
Fast rain.
Any other questions? Don't think I have anything else to share.
Stacy?
I think, I mean, most of the things are normal as usual, staying busy with all things PCC. The one I'd say most unique is NICC and creating their sports department or their sports teams that they are now doing. We just started conversations. Baseball and softball are the two that they're looking at possibly trying to do here. There is going to be many more discussions to come regarding the feasibility of baseball. How do we share with Clark? What options do we have? Yeah, all the things, field time, field maintenance, field, just like aesthetic, like how can it hold up with 2 collegiate teams? There's a lot of questions with baseball. I did get NICC and Clark in the same room to start a conversation. So that conversation has started, but like I said, much more conversation to come. I'm also working with Nick and NICC to work up a contract for softball. Their spring and fall program doesn't really interfere the way they're setting it up currently with any of our stuff. So I think it'll work well. His plan is to
A or
do
B?
north and south, yeah.
North and
Yep, so
south.
not Spiegel. Spiegel with baseball is the one, that's the
That's the-
big question mark. But yeah, for the north and south or north field, however we decide it, they're looking at practicing during the day. Games are like early afternoon, so all of it's done by the time kids are out of school. So it kind of works well with those fields. With softball, the only thing that doesn't work for them is the fence for softball field fences or outfield fences are shorter. So they would have to put a stationary fence up for their games and stuff to bring that fence in. That's the biggest hurdle for that one. Like I
The
said,
requirement for fences is shorter than what we have.
any softball is, like they're baseball fields for us, right?
So they
And
would put a temporary.
They would put a
thing when they
temporary
play,
fence up when they
when
play,
they open up.
correct,
Okay.
which they know obviously is needed for them to play on the fields. So yeah, so I have a lot of ideas running in my head for Spiegel and kind of see how things
Donation
unravel.
of some netting along. Piazza
Netting isn't
Parkway.
even the,
Doesn't even enter the top 100.
That's what.
it does, yeah, add to the
just lost
total
my
of what I would
reelection.
like to see, so, but yeah, so we'll see where the conversations go and see kind of.
Exciting.
The conversation started, it didn't go swimmingly, but work in progress and we'll see. So kind of keep you guys updated and
Did I understand from you at one point, Stacy, that Clark has long-term plans to be somewhere else?
so I've heard yes and no, right? Getting them in a room, my answer is no. Their long-term plan is here.
They're like,
And
they're-
that's, yeah.
Okay. Maybe a change.
I mean, what they want to know sooner rather than later if that needs to change, right? Is it something that, do we want that to change? Do we want that to change? What do we see? What are we prepared to do for the field if we don't, if we want to keep both? Or have both, or, and there's many questions, but no, the way they came into the meeting was they very much plan to be here as long as we are welcome to them. Yeah. Yes. So.
And the seasons would be at the same time.
They're spring and fall, same as NICC, same exact, everything's same exact, of course, so why wouldn't they be? So. The one thing I do we have baseball besides John? Does anyone know? I've heard, I was talking to some people who rent our softball fields and were inquiring about next summer, and I might have started asking him questions about some of my ideas for Spiegel, one of which is a turf field, but we'll get there later. But he had said that high school is looking, and Iowa is looking to move to the spring instead of summer.
So they just moved summer, they just moved spring golf for the small schools to the fall, which with that move will allow spring baseball to be available. But I don't think it's been really truly talked about.
Okay.
Iowa is the only state
100%.
in the area that does.
In the country. that does
Yeah.
baseball.
Correct.
So I would think that it probably would be with the next 10 years. I would see that it move that way.
Outside.
Even northern Minnesota does spring ball.
I know. Play their
Yeah,
girls
we
up there.
always did, Wisconsin, we always did spring.
But I don't think it's anything. Come out tomorrow that they announce that they change. I don't think it's a serious consideration.
Yeah, okay, I was just curious. But yeah, no.
And
Well,
to
it's
answer
just
your
as a
question,
thirteen.
Brian, it was senior plan to build their baseball diamond complex got shot down, so.
That's why it went up.
So when
Because they
that
could have
was,
collaborated there.
when that was in discussion, that was pre-COVID, and I think COVID kind of ruined. And even then, my understanding from them was the length they wanted to make the field wasn't what Clark wanted, that they were gonna do it shorter than what
They didn't have the
Clark
room.
needed or wanted,
You can only-
or whatever,
Yeah, right.
So much room.
within the space that they had. So
Okay.
yeah, there more discussion, there's definitely gonna be more discussion, but it's good conversation to start with, and then
Was scary at first, right?
what?
Scary at first.
Clark reached
I got a
out.
text one night from the assistant athletic director from Clark saying, "What are you doing?"
So ironically, John did text. Hey, just want to give you a heads up. I'm like, this is already happening. Like,
We already got the heads up. Yeah.
Here, heads up back to you.
But yeah, I think that the TH jumped the gun with the article, putting out. Clark believed that, I don't know.
Just already done.
Knew more than what I was portraying, and that was not the case. Like, there's definitely, I was just as surprised as everyone else when I pulled up the article. Yeah, so like I said, work in progress, definitely more discussions to come, but conversations have started, and we'll kind of keep moving and go from there.
Okay. Anything else you want to bring up tonight?
That's enough right now.
Good discussion. Good stuff. I like it. All right. Next up, access easement, Spiegel Piasta. This is brought by the water tower.
Yeah, hopefully you got a chance to read through my notes that I have out there. Right now, it's kind of, we respond to, when I say we, it's Doug Herman responds to Stefan Alt. But you can see some of the notes that it's going back and forth. So there's really no good answer right now. But I do want to know your thoughts on the desire to have a road through there.
To go further on the
Correct, yeah.
Maskey property.
To go back to serve the balance of that 200 that he has.
Why?
Again, this is,
Yeah,
Yeah.
why what? Why would we
Why
put a
go
road all the
further?
way through the 200 when the 200 isn't in the city?
Where does the 200 start on
Let's
this?
do it at that time.
the actual driveway is right on, it's, I don't know why AJ didn't replat this when,
010.
years ago, but Penske is trying to buy that little slot, or little swatch of land,
Wait.
south. Marcy's gonna pull it up here on GIS. And, they're trying to close on the property right now, and we need an easement to be able to go in to the water tower, the well, So again, AJ and Stefan all were waiting on a site plan. Steve has provided that to them to kind of show them where the well is sitting. And then I have those notes in the administrative section, which is kind of where we're at with the discussion.
I didn't understand the notes. That's what we want to ask.
There we go. Whoa, right there, that's good enough.
Okay.
Mike, can you tip that just a teeny bit, if it will tip
Yeah,
toward us?
go out and just
I know it doesn't go
turn it.
much.
Sounds scary.
Fine.
There we go.
Thank you, thank you.
This parcel of land right here,
And the water tower, can you point where that's going?
it's gonna be in the triangle down here. And this is the best access to get to this site. It'd be more challenging, not impossible to get out there. And I guess I started this whole mess. I raised the question, okay, what's going on west of here? Because this is kind of the only, this is a way to get back there if need be. If it's just going to one entity back there, then it's a driveway. If it's gonna go to multiple entities, someone's gonna say, why isn't it a city street? Everyone's gonna need to get an easement then. So now would be the time to ask that question versus after some.
And you did raise a question that I was going to ask you based on a conversation I had earlier today with someone else. The challenges that we would have coming off of Cox Springs would be.
It's great. It gets a little higher there. It's, it's not impossible, but it'd be steeper, especially the farther south you go.
Wouldn't, if that 200 is not in the city, wouldn't that fall to the county to put a road in?
Ultimately, yes, but is it reasonable to assume that sometime this is gonna be in the city?
Probably. It was reasonable at one time and now it's not.
Well, so we had a conversation before and about
It is
serving
yes.
water outside of the city. I mean, industrial users are a heck of a lot different than what residential. So I think it's, again, I've done this long enough to know that you gotta think 20, 30 years down the line and
Yeah.
you're handcuffed by somebody's decision 30 years ago that didn't ask that question, so.
And something will happen with that 200 acres. I can guarantee it. And it'll happen sooner than what you think.
Well, I mean, I think the whole reason that we picked the location that we picked, I mean, there was multiple reasons, but obviously we feel that that's the best place for industrial growth.
Right.
So, I mean, we're locating the tower over there for that simple reason. I mean, that's the only source of water that we have over there if we do have an eruption of the line break going over. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we're assuming growth.
Definitely.
When we pursued that much of the water and sewer going that direction and the site plan.
Is he asking us to put the road in?
We just get a street platted and not actually build a road.
Does he ask us to put the road in?
No, it's just basically, we're looking for that easement and he's basically saying.
The road is actually installed.
Right.
The drive.
The drive is.
Drive.
Right,
Yeah, but I'm,
not, just as a driveway.
It's not a street. It's
Yeah, he
not a
was not asking for any improvements at this point. It was just kind of throwing this out there. Opposed to us getting an easement for that. Do we want to control that parcel?
Oh, he was
For
asking
future.
for
future
buy.
growth.
Yeah, yep. For an extension at some point.
So we would have to
Yeah.
rent,
Yeah.
we'd have to have,
Yeah.
let's say,
yeah.
for Penske then.
You'd have to have an easement from the owner of this parcel, which right now is Spiegel. Right?
Getting lost.
Yes.
Marcy, can you?
But he wants us to buy it.
Distance between
where Penske wants to buy
the
it
red. the two
Penske
red
wants
lines.
to buy it
and is trying to buy it.
and is trying to buy it.
Yes,
But he wants us to buy it.
It's 150.
And it could be a bidding war.
152.
It could be
150.
A bidding war.
So, I mean, quite honestly,
159, 461.
Well, he overestimated.
if it was something that the city would accept, that would actually give us a lot of money for our tower site.
Okay, can you repeat that?
Sorry.
That's
That-
okay.
Rather than an easement and making a purchase or an acceptance of that property would allow us, with that being 152 feet, I mean, technically we should only need, 60, 66 foot right away. That's almost double, more than double of what we need. That would allow us more property to construct the tower in the green space triangle.
And then get our own driveway into that.
Oh, we would have a
No, we
triangle.
use that
We'll
driveway.
use
I
it.
know.
What I'm saying is,
We're looking to
we
buy
could
that parcel.
utilize some of this property here.
Number been thrown out.
Oh, and have room for a street.
Is that what we're talking about, is buying?
You
that
have the
parcel?
street right
Yeah,
here.
you could get 66 feet, roughly
That's not
about
a.
this. And the lower,
Technically not a street.
Right,
It wouldn't be a city street until we wanted it to be a city street.
right, it's a driveway that,
He's saying we wouldn't.
we'd actually have to, actually Penske wouldn't even need
Yeah.
an easement because
I like
it's being city property, but
Correct.
you wouldn't need an easement, but we could, what Dean's saying is there's a strip of green that we could actually build on if we controlled this parcel.
Perhaps a new maintenance garage?
Correct.
Whatever it may be to construct.
Whatever we want to.
Is-
We've had that discussion, that's why.
Has there been a number thrown
That's a
out?
great idea. For that parcel?
No, I mean, how much area are we looking at? Asking them.
Well,
Or-
my question would be, if Penske's already using that, does that parcel already have an easement on it for them
from.
from AJ?
I would bet not.
Squatters' rights.
So,
And I don't, this would just be my opinion, but I would say, see if this could be deeded over, because maintenance of this is no longer the owner's responsibility to become yours at that point. I think there's a good incentive to AJ to not have that parcel.
well, it would also be in their easement agreement with Penske,
If it exists, but again, I would guess it doesn't.
but they'd have to have one from us.
They would not.
They would not have been the street.
It's a state, we could plant that thing out as a street right away, that isn't an approved street. So just think about a new property line right here.
Right.
On the south side of that, where this becomes a platted right of way, call it Justin Lane. Loud Lane, that would be better. And then the rest of this just is part of the city of Piasta's ownership. So you
Right.
plant this out, get a 66-foot right of way. This just stays until it needs to be an
We need to
approved
do
road.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we'd be responsible for the maintenance of that part.
Correct.
I like that.
Where's the next shoot?
That makes sense. So the best thought process would be
Wise.
Penske closes.
What? No.
No, closes on the deal of the land.
So I'm not aware
That
of,
wouldn't affect any of that.
yeah, I'm not aware, I don't know.
Penske's trying to buy the north part.
Penske's trying to buy the north half of
They're
this?
trying to buy that entire parcel from my
Oh, they
understanding.
are.
Yes.
Oh, they want that lot too?
Should it'd be to their advantage too, to not.
To let us,
for you guys to have
let us.
As well, yeah, I think everybody wins if that's just. deeded
That's
over.
my understanding because that's why AJ wanted to see where the water tower was at.
Okay,
So if there
now
was
that
an
makes sense,
easement
now I have
needed.
context there, yeah.
Yeah, I think
they
it'd
buy
be
it.
under the, why would they want it at that point?
Right.
Right, we mow it.
We're not gonna be able to
You mow.
build.
Right.
There's utility easements.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right, all over the place in that thing.
Ask them if they'll deed it over.
After they just purchased it.
Well, they're purchasing it all together.
Strike while the iron's hot.
Because they're buying
I mean,
this
why would they want-
as well.
It's just.
They own
maintenance.
that right now.
We take the maintenance.
They're buying that from AJ. AJ owns that building for
To
right now.
preserve their access.
Trying to buy this and then they
Right,
buy this too.
exactly.
Better than out the window.
Yeah. If they
I'd
want.
rather have,
What if
I'd
we're taking
rather have
advantage of all that traffic?
rather have that in our control. Versus
I agree.
leaving it up to what Penske's gonna do,
Do you
or
think,
may or may not do.
ask AJ first?
But it all comes down to,
What's the value on that piece of property to AJ?
$8.
To AJ.
you said,
9,
you said $8.
yeah,
I said 14.
okay, we'll go middle.
15.5, that's all I got.
It's already spent,
Oh, yeah.
already spent that. Legal fees.
I guess ask him for a number.
Okay. Would you like to make a call with me?
Sure.
Okay.
And ask him how far he's in his deal with Penske. I mean, is it something that we're jumping in the tail end of this thing and gonna?
Yeah, if Penske controls that, there's probably Never's a long time, but not a very good option for that to ever be extended to serve back behind there.
Yeah, to make it,
But you'd think that they would want us to maintain it. I don't know what good it would do them.
unless they're.
That's just, we're gonna
Unless they're gonna-
maintain it all ourselves.
Which is always possible.
It is.
Yeah.
Looks like the city was expanding.
It's always a possibility.
Although,
True.
although a lot of people don't want
Breaks down.
access off of Piast, right, not, Sundown Road.
So we will contact AJ just to see if it's even viable option.
I think what I'm gonna do is contact Doug Herman first because he's been working with the attorney
Okay.
where they are, and then just say, hey, would AJ ask his client what he would like for that? And then we will map that out and show exactly what we're looking for, okay? I think that's probably the best route to go.
It's good. It's fine.
Good. Thanks, John.
Yep, sorry.
Thank you, Luana.
Resolution
Hi, John.
public hearing for Thunder Hills Road speed limit.
There's a little bit of a story behind this. A lot of people have been complaining to Dubuque County about the speed limit out there going from highway speed to 50 and then down to 35 at, what is the street?
Juliana. Well, that,
Right, and then
that
it
street
drops.
just comes up a lot.
Yeah, and then it drops down to 35 and then there's a four-way
It's not
stop
even the
beyond that.
street, it's not even the right spot.
Right, that's not our, right. So I did give you a drawing, kind of, I hope it made sense, because I conveyed and conversed with the chief of police, and if he understood it, then I felt good about it.
I think we
We all
all.
know what it means.
Yeah.
So Russell Weber had contacted me and he said.
I don't see
that-
that.
We don't have the drawing.
What's not on there?
No, I
Well,
see the resolution
words.
draft.
No.
Anyway, Russell Weber contacted me and said, pardon me?
It's under administrative, okay.
So Russell Weber contacted me and said that he would recommend that we run it through council first, and then he would take it back to the board of supervisors, and it would probably pass easier that way. We're getting complaints about the speed being 50 out there, and then it is. And when
Once you
you're
get
coming
close
off
to
Thunder
Thunder
Valley Road or Drive, and then trying to come out on Thunder Hills Road, and it's just one quick turn, and those cars are right there.
Great.
Keep in mind, the county owns the east lane and we own the west lane there.
Up to where Jim Conlon's property stops.
Right.
It's just, it's a,
It's a
This much.
We own this and then it goes county.
It's
and then we
55
own
to
the
Then
other side.
the, then the
35
DOT owns this and then, right.
Right, it's 50 that way, but we change
yeah,
our.
so what we need to do by ordinance is have a public hearing and go through the motions, get this back to the Board of Supervisors. They meet every other Monday and kind of just work it through its process. I think 35 is a good idea, knowing that we're gonna have development on the east side
Yeah.
coming up.
And that's what they suggested also.
Right.
Well, the church is going to go up
Right,
right there
on
as
both the
well.
west and the east side,
So
we're
I
gonna
mean,
have
that's gonna
development.
be,
There will be a lot of traffic
Yeah.
on one day a week
yeah,
or
for
2
sure,
days a week.
for sure.
Wednesdays.
Yeah, like these kids coming into the meeting. Yep.
So that'll be out there to set the public hearing date for the 24th.
Resolution amending and adopting the revised City of Piasta handbook.
Yes, we've talked about this multiple times. I did send out an email today with a memo explaining the changes to the handbook and pointed out that a number of pages are state and federal that we can't revise or edit or delete, and ask that staff review that, sign the signature page, and get it back to me by next Friday, because this will be adopted Tuesday night.
Resolution adopting the City of Piasta's disaster recovery plan.
Yep, that too is on the agenda for Tuesday. I apologize, I didn't have the actual plan out there, but it is there now for your review. I did work with Justin Callis at ITS. This is a direct result of the cyber audit or discussion that we had. He didn't want to call it an audit. But it's an eye opener to see what protections we don't have in place that we're working on now and that we'll budget for FY26. That this disaster plan specifically outlines what happens if we're hacked. And basically whose responsibility is it to start getting the wheels in motion and who is responsible for backups, et cetera, et cetera. And it does a nice job of explaining. And I'm gonna try to say this the right way, the basic layman's terms. I mean, there's a lot of terms in there that I still don't understand because that's not in my wheelhouse. but this too was a request or a recommendation from ICAP.
Yeah,
We
from
have
the
this in
insurer,
place.
yeah.
Good. Resolution approving entering into a contract with ECIA for the SMART grant.
Right, so I had talked to Chandra several times on this because the way the agreement says the city will be responsible for doing this. The responsibility will be for the city to pay for this, but this is money that is coming from the infrastructure plan that is given to ECIA, and they ask communities if they would like us to come in and do different data collections. And there may not be, and it's a $12,500 grant that they get to do this. There's no monies coming from us. The only
Being paid, right? to do the
correct,
data
yeah,
collection.
they are getting paid to do it. So there's a one meeting a week or two meetings a month that I attend just for questions if they need more data or information. So I think it's a win-win. It's really not costing us anything, and it's probably some good data to have. I don't know if it would rely or help you with the traffic study, but
Is it just a one-time data capture? Or does it put some infrastructure in place that is dynamically sending data all the time?
I think
I'm
what they
trying to
do is they
understand what it is.
mobilize some equipment, and they'll be doing, I think, something very similar to a traffic study.
It is, it's a one-time data
Yeah.
balance.
Okay.
Not quite as extensive as a traffic study that normalizes over a period of time.
Okay, that's helpful.
So this was one of those,
Seems
hey,
like a good
yesterday
deal.
they get a hold of me and they're like, hey, can you get this passed Tuesday night? And of course, we're very fortunate that we have a work session.
I thought you were saying good people.
That too.
That too, yes.
We did H. Ordinance amending Title 9, Chapter 114, solicitors, transient merchants. I believe Lexi has some things she'd like to say about this.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, I'm good.
I think we should
I
either
just
make
want,
this.
only minors are allowed to.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should make this a really high bar and just not have it. Trying to figure out why we need it as a city.
Do we have any information? I know we always do this, other cities? As far as
Might be nice.
even
just to
local
ask around.
Asbury, Farley, Cascade,
It's not like
any of those?
it's uncommon to say now that if someone wants to contact you or talk to you about solar, that they can't find a way to contact you or get a hold of you if you are interested without knocking on your
They can
door.
cold call, we can call them.
They can send letters, they can email, they can call, they can text.
So-
I don't understand what the,
I'm not a fan of them.
I'm not a fan. I don't know anybody that's a fan.
Well, and as I mentioned, Chief had some complaints down at Piazza Days of people asking, why are you allowing people to go door to
Well,
door?
because they're walking around telling them, you can call chief.
Oh,
You can call
that,
Chief Mike.
that
Doesn't
kid
matter,
did
it's
that.
okay.
that kid from
That's where he got his
Lithuania or
license.
whatever.
The one we
someplace.
just approved, yeah.
Oh, he was
I don't-
throwing all kinds of people out there.
I don't know.
So what I am gonna do is I'm gonna check with the attorney to make sure we can ban them. I'm almost
Okay.
sure we can.
Okay,
That-
so that's really what we want to do, not, if we can't, then we raise it to.
I mean, we can have I guess, do we have to have a public hearing or whatever about it? But I don't know is there a person in Piasta that's
It's gonna be
getting a
like,
peddler
no.
permit so they can sell their candles from door to door? I
It
mean,
is an ordinance, so if we repeal it, I'm sure we have to have a public hearing to do so.
I think anybody will mind not getting
No.
knocked.
Well, yeah.
And that doesn't, like, legal, it doesn't, you still have to allow like religious organizations, right? And
Not for profit. Schools.
political, non-for-profit, like all that stuff, but not selling things door to door.
What
That's
was the
not for
question?
profit.
Ask your question again.
That's the Girl Scouts.
Ask your question, because I don't think she heard it.
But it's still, like legally, you still allow like not-for-profit religious organizations, political organizations.
Right, yep, you can go, if you're a politician, you can
It's
go door to
just-
door.
It's just saying not door-to-door sales.
So I just asked Doug, hopefully he'll respond back to me about that question, if we can ban them, so maybe we'll get an answer tonight.
Okay.
As far as the other cities, I don't know what off the top of my head, like
Just
what
was
they
curious.
require, but do they allow it? Yes. So like this guy that does the books and he got it in Dyersville and Farley and Epworth, and he was kind of everywhere. I don't know their parameters. I don't know if they require a bond and what their fees are. But I do know that they do allow it.
That was really, I was looking for just that general information. Thank you, Marcy. All right, so wait for Doug to. Ordinance amending Title 7 Traffic Code, Chapter 74, Schedule 1 of the Piasta Municipal Code.
This is the speed limits.
This is what we were just talking about, right?
Oh, yeah, that was with the supervisors, right?
Yeah, we talked about the resolution to set the public hearing, so this is the actual ordinance.
Ordinance. Is this your drawing?
Oh, yeah.
Here's your drawing.
Oh,
Here's the
You found
drawing.
it.
Did I put it out there in the wrong spot?
Well,
no, just two.
Remember, it's talked about it sideways.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it drops to 35 north of Juliana. Okay.
It's just right on the opposite side of Juliana, it drops.
We're just gonna make it all the way from the
The whole
highway,
road.
whole road 35.
From
Okay,
20.
back to the prior agenda item. He says, no, but you can put in place relatively significant fees. Look at Monticello ordinance.
oh, okay.
Okay.
Fair
Let's
enough.
find a high bar.
$1,000.
We probably had was high.
Doug might have drafted
That's
the
fine.
Monticello one, so
Yeah,
look at that.
Not high
But
enough.
Doug recommends the Monticello.
So the proposal on the speed limit though is that it'd be 35 the entire distance of the road
That would be correct.
from Highway 20 north.
All the way up to the stop sign, and then does it drop down to 25 through there?
Through past the stop sign, yeah.
We're gonna have something to the east of that, so.
It's 35 once you get past Juliana.
Support that.
We're looking at taking that 50 to 35.
Correct.
Yellow 50.
Traffic there.
I like the drawing.
The white
Yeah, it's a great
50
drawing.
for all of it.
All of it.
So from the highway to Juliana to 35.
The whole thing, yeah.
Okay, and then past Juliana,
That's
it's
still
Right.
30.
And then the county will adopt that on their side.
right, gotcha. Okay. See, I do need drawings.
It's there.
It's time to do
I
that.
think we're all good on that. Urban renewal plan amendment.
Okay, there's no immediate rush for this. The plan that we have now is for 2020 to 2025. So just putting, as I had mentioned a few weeks ago, this is something that we need to start looking at. Coming up with ideas, projects that we want to put out there. And Stacy helped us along by saying she wanted turf. So that was added to the list.
You always want something.
So again, these are things that I really need you to take a look at and we can
And a
prioritize.
parking lot.
So as we get ready to do that amendment, then we,
Yeah, I think.
right, and then we can start collectively working on how we're gonna pay that, how we're gonna pay for them.
Could I ask that somebody mocks up the existing 2020 document to which ones we've completed?
Yeah,
Which ones?
absolutely. Yeah.
That part, I read through it and I just don't have enough background. I think that's done, but I don't know.
That'd be helpful.
So we know what's left on there, what's partial. We have not done.
I know that's number one.
That was actually when I was.
I feel like we've done that.
I was thinking.
Maybe that's just all
We
the
turfed
talk.
it.
We turfed.
We're not turfing the ball field, we're turfing Kepner.
Just salt it or plow it, it's just gonna.
Good program.
That might be more expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably be cheaper. Yeah.
all right,
So
so,
just an idea.
And I'll send out reminders over the next couple of months so that we, when I send out the revised plan to show you where we're at as far
What's
as.
done and what's not done.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and then that way we'll just start to
Started.
mocking up one.
Thank you. That will be really.
You bet.
and last but certainly not least, trick or treat.
Oh gosh, this one's probably the most difficult, don't you think?
Easiest. It's on Halloween.
It's on Halloween,
Always on Halloween.
6 to
it's
7.
always on Halloween. I'm
Yes.
60 years old, it's always on Halloween, unless you live in my old subdivision.
And then Chief confirmed that last year we did it from 6 to 7:30.
Do we have any issues?
Did it work pretty well?
Do we have any issues at 6 to 7:30?
Perfect.
No issues. And you can use the fireworks during that time?
Better for people that work.
Will there be a parade?
Please.
Careful what you wish.
Trunk or treat?
Track and treat. We're gonna do it around the track.
Okay.
They had requests last year that they left it inside, they wanna do it inside. So we thought it would be cool to do the perimeter of the track, so we have hallways to corral.
That's a good idea.
That's awesome.
So
idea.
I have not started contacting businesses yet, but I'm on it. As soon as I was
On my
going
list
to
of other
on
things.
Tuesday and then today, we'll get there.
Awesome. No, that's a great idea. Not worried about weather.
Package there at Trunk or Treat place with a Cali Oaks
Shadi's not,
donation.
Oh, there's gonna be a table for
Let's
sure.
do a deal. Yeah.
and Shadi's not available
For track or treat?
to help during the day. That's all I'm saying.
I
Oh,
mean, we can't close the track during the day anyway.
No, I mean to call businesses, because I know that we did it last year.
Oh.
Yeah, and it took quite a bit of our time, so.
Oh.
No, it's just we're doing it instead of, I think we kind of collapsed last year.
who's the band this year?
Me, I'm not a music person. I don't think we have
Maybe we
any
could
music.
get Mike Sullivan
What
to
band?
Piazzaville.
Wow, it's getting
Later.
late.
Brian sings.
It's getting late.
Me and your daughter. can put
So
on a
6 to
show.
7:30 on Halloween.
Done.
Done.
Good.
All right. I'll close the meeting. Thanks, everybody. Well, I gave us 2 hours for tonight. I'm 15.5 under budget.
We should reward